My own sister stole our father's $30,000. Then blamed me. She said I'd lost it gambling. And my mother believed her. No one knew I was secretly paying for her college and all the bills they took for granted. They kicked me out like trash. But I didn't break. I built something better and made sure they'd never forget the quiet girl they threw away. My name is Emily. I'm 28 years old, and for the past 4 years, I've been carrying a weight no one in my family seemed to notice, except my dad. Every morning, I'd wake up before sunrise, make coffee for everyone, and head out to work at the small bookstore downtown. After my shift, I'd go straight to my second job at a local cafe, working until nearly midnight. I didn't complain. I didn't ask for praise. I did it because someone had to keep the lights on in our house. Someone had to pay the gas bill, the groceries, the internet, and all the small things that my mom thought just magically handled themselves. The truth is, since my dad retired early due to health issues, I had taken over most of the household expenses. I used my own money to pay our rent, and I even sent monthly payments to cover my sister Chloe's college tuition. She never thanked me. She never even knew. Only my dad, Richard, knew the truth. One night, he caught me sneaking money into the electric bill envelope on the kitchen table. I remember the way he looked at me, sad, proud, and helpless all at once. "Promise me you won't tell your mother," he had said softly. "You know how she is. She'll twist this into something ugly." So I stayed quiet. My mom, Donna, always thought Chloe was the golden child. Everything Chloe did was special. Every failure she had was someone else's fault. And me? I was just there. The extra mouth to feed. The lazy daughter who never did anything right, even though I was the only one keeping the house running. There were days when I wanted to scream the truth. Days when I wanted to show the receipts, the pay stubs, the bank transfers. But every time I looked at my dad, I remembered that this was the only way to keep peace. So I stayed silent, and Chloe got all the love while I got all the blame. But I didn't know things were about to get worse. Much worse. It all happened on a Friday. I came home from work later than usual, exhausted, and still wearing my cafe apron. As I stepped through the front door, I immediately felt it, the strange silence, the kind that sits heavy in the air. My mom was standing in the living room, arms crossed, eyes cold. Chloe sat on the couch, wiping fake tears from her cheeks, playing the victim as always. Before I could even ask what was going on, my mom exploded. "Where is it, Emily?" she yelled. "Where is your father's money?" I blinked, confused. "What money?" "Don't act stupid," she snapped. $30,000 from your father's pension savings is missing. And guess who Chloe saw sneaking into his room last week? I turned to Chloe. She avoided my eyes, staring down at her nails. "I didn't take anything," I said, my voice steady. "Why would I steal from my own father?" Chloe suddenly stood up and cried out, "You've been gambling, Emily. You're always tired, always hiding your phone. Admit it. You blew the money at some casino." I was stunned. I had no words. "Gambling," I repeated. "You really expect them to believe that?" "You've been acting strange for months," my mom added, pointing her finger at me. "Always out late, never helping around the house. And now this." I looked toward my dad, hoping for support. But he wasn't there. He had gone to visit his cousin in another state for the weekend. Perfect timing for them to trap me. "I didn't steal anything," I said again, slowly. "You have no idea what I've been doing for this family." "Oh, we know," my mom snapped, leeching off us and dragging Chloe's name through the mud. "How dare you accuse your own sister of lying?" "I didn't accuse her," I said firmly. "I'm saying she's lying." That's when Chloe started crying louder, pretending to be hurt. And my mom, of course, rushed to comfort her like she was 5 years old. Then came the final blow. "Get out," my mom said coldly. "I want you out of this house tonight." I stared at her, thinking she didn't mean it. But she did. She meant every word. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I just stood there in silence as Chloe sniffled and my mom glared at me like I was some stranger off the street. My heart was pounding, but my face stayed calm. If I had learned anything in this house, it was how to swallow pain quietly. I walked to my room, closed the door, and looked around. There wasn't much to take. Most of my money had gone into keeping this place running, into Chloe's tuition, into groceries they thought appeared out of nowhere, into the quiet dignity of keeping things together when no one else noticed they were falling apart. I grabbed a small duffel bag, packed the essentials, and sat on the edge of my bed for a few minutes. I thought about calling my dad, but I knew he was hours away, and by the time he got back, the damage would already be done. Besides, he had asked me not to stir the pot. And I wouldn't, not for him, not tonight. As I stepped out of my room with my bag, Chloe peeked down the hall, pretending to be concerned. "You don't have to make this dramatic, Em," she said, her voice syrupy sweet. "If you'd just admit it, maybe Mom will let you stay." I turned and looked her straight in the eye. "I paid your college tuition," I said quietly. "Every single month. From my account." Her fake concern disappeared. Her face went pale. "You're lying," she hissed. "No, Chloe," I replied. "You are." I didn't wait for her response. I walked past my mother, who didn't even look at me, and out the front door of the house I had called home for 28 years. It was nearly midnight when I arrived at Rachel's place. She opened the door in her pajamas, shocked to see me, but didn't ask a million questions. She saw the bag, the look on my face, and simply stepped aside. "You can stay as long as you need," she whispered. I dropped my bag on the floor and sat on her couch. That's when the tears came, quietly, quickly, and finally. Not for being accused, not even for being thrown out, but for the years I gave to people who never even noticed. The next morning, Rachel handed me a mug of coffee and sat beside me on the couch. Her place was small but warm, with soft yellow curtains and the scent of lavender hanging in the air. It felt more like home in one night than my parents' house had in years. She didn't push me to talk, but I told her everything bit by bit. About the bills, the tuition, the stolen money, and how my own mother looked me in the eye and told me to leave. Rachel listened quietly, her hands wrapped around her cup. When I finally finished, she said one sentence that changed everything. "You should open your own boutique." I laughed. "Rachel, I have maybe $200 in my account." "You've got more than money," she said. "You've got talent. I've seen those sketches you hide in your journal. You fix my clothes better than any tailor in town. You're sitting on a gold mine, Emily. You just need the right soil to plant it in." Her words stuck with me all day. I'd always dreamed of working in fashion, but life had other plans. I took whatever jobs I could to support the family. My sketches stayed buried in notebooks no one saw. My sewing machine collected dust in the corner of my room, now left behind. That afternoon, Rachel drove me to a local thrift store. We picked up cheap fabric, a second-hand sewing machine, and a few basic supplies. I used some of my emergency savings to pay for them, silently praying I wasn't making a huge mistake. We cleared out the small dining room in her apartment and turned it into a workspace. It was cramped, but it was mine. That night, I made my first dress in 3 years. My fingers ached from sewing, but when I held up that simple navy blue piece, I felt something I hadn't felt in ages. Pride. Rachel took a photo of the dress on a mannequin and posted it on her social media. She captioned it, "First designed by someone who deserves the world. More to come." We didn't expect what happened next. By morning, the post had gone semi-viral. People were asking where they could buy it. A woman from the next town even offered to pay double if we could ship it to her by the weekend. It was the tiniest spark, but it was enough. For the first time in years, I felt like I had a future that wasn't tied to someone else's approval. And back at my old house, the lies Chloe told were about to start unraveling. 2 weeks passed like a blur. Every day, Rachel and I worked from sunrise until long past midnight. I stitched, cut, designed, and packed. She handled orders, messages, and photos. Our little dining room turned boutique was running on caffeine and determination. And to our surprise, it was working. More people started ordering. Some wanted custom pieces. One client even asked if I could design outfits for her bridal shower. It was surreal. My hands, once used only to clean tables and carry plates, were now creating something that made people feel beautiful. But while my life was finally beginning, Chloe's was starting to unravel. It began with a phone call from her university. She had been caught cheating, copying someone else's final design project. Not only did they suspend her, but they also demanded full payment for the damage caused to the program's reputation. My mom, of course, was furious. But not at Chloe.
No.
She blamed the system, the teachers, the jealous classmates.
Typical.
Then one afternoon, while cleaning Chloe's room, my mom stumbled upon a shoebox tucked in the back of her closet. Inside were receipts, college payment confirmations, textbook orders, supply deliveries, all addressed under my name. At first, she didn't understand.
She thought it was a mistake.
But as she kept reading, reality hit her like a brick wall. It wasn't a mistake. It was me. All along it had been me. She had thrown out the only person who had kept their house running, paid the bills, covered the tuition, held everything together while they sang praises of Chloe. I didn't know about any of this. Not yet. But back in my boutique space, I was pinning a soft pink silk dress to a mannequin when Rachel came running in with her phone in her hand.
You need to see this, she said.
It was a text from my dad. Emily, your mom knows everything. I'm so sorry for what happened. She wants to speak to you if you're willing. I stared at the message, my hands frozen over the fabric. She wanted to speak to me now. After all the blame, the yelling, the exile, I took a deep breath and turned off my phone. Let her sit with the truth for a while. 3 days later, I heard a knock at Rachel's door. I was in the middle of hemming a client's dress, but something about that knock made me stop. It wasn't Rachel's usual delivery guy or a neighbor. It was slow, hesitant, like the person on the other side wasn't sure they should be there. When I opened the door, I wasn't surprised. It was my mother. Donna stood in the hallway, dressed in her Sunday best like she was coming from church. Her face was tired, her eyes watery, and for the first time in my life, she looked small. Emily, she said softly, can we talk? I stepped outside, shutting the door behind me. She looked me up and down, taking in the measuring tape around my neck, the pencil behind my ear, the fabric scraps on my shirt. Her lips trembled, but I stayed silent. I didn't know, she whispered, about the bills, about the tuition, about anything. Chloe confessed. Your father showed me the receipts. I nodded once. I still didn't say anything. I was wrong, she continued. I believed her lies. I always thought. I don't know what I thought. I'm sorry. Her voice cracked on that last word. I wanted to feel something. I wanted to cry, yell, or hug her. But instead, I just felt numb. You didn't believe me when I said I was innocent, I said calmly.
You didn't even ask.
You just threw me out. She looked down. I know. Then why are you here now? She looked up again, eyes pleading. Because I want you to come home. I let out a short, humorless laugh. Home, I repeated. That stopped being home the day you told me to leave. There was a long pause. Emily, please, she said. We've lost Chloe's college, her reputation, everything. And I don't even know how to fix any of it. I miss you. I looked her in the eyes and said something I never thought I'd say to my own mother. I don't. I turned and walked back into Rachel's apartment, closing the door behind me. I stood there for a moment, back against the wood, heart pounding. Then I picked up my scissors and got back to work. Because I had orders to fulfill. Because I had a business to run. Because I had finally started living for me. 6 months later, everything had changed. The small boutique Rachel and I built in her apartment dining room had grown into a real space, a cozy corner shop in downtown Portland, filled with sunlight, soft jazz, and rows of elegant, handmade dresses. The walls were lined with sketches I once hid in my bedroom drawer, now framed like artwork. The name above the front door read, Stitched by Emily. Clients came in from all over, brides-to-be, businesswomen, mothers, daughters. Some found us through word of mouth. Others from the photos Rachel continued to post online. But one thing never changed. Every dress I made was sewn with care, patience, and quiet pride. Because I wasn't just selling fabric. I was selling the proof that I survived. One afternoon, as I was helping a woman try on a custom gown, I heard the boutique bell ring. I turned and froze. Chloe stood there. She looked nothing like the sister I remembered. The makeup was gone. Her hair was tied in a messy bun. She wore a plain hoodie and jeans. No expensive handbags. No designer sunglasses. Just Chloe. She stepped closer. I saw the store and I had to come see it myself. I gave her a polite nod. You've seen it now. She bit her lip. I've been working at a clothing outlet in the mall. Minimum wage. They cut my hours last week. I said nothing. I was wondering if maybe you'd consider hiring me. I could help with packaging, cleaning, anything. I looked at her, really looked at her. Not with hate. Not even anger. Just clarity. I hope you learn from what happened, I said gently. But I'm building something here. Something honest. And I only keep people around who know how to value others. She nodded slowly, eyes downcast. I understand. As she turned to leave, I called out, Chloe. She paused. I paid for your future. You spent it. Don't ask me to give you another one. She nodded again, then left. Later that evening, as I was closing the boutique, Rachel walked in holding a small box. Inside was a custom label tag we had ordered weeks ago. It was simple, embroidered in gold thread, built from nothing, designed with grace. Emily. I smiled as I sewed it into the hem of a new dress. Because I wasn't hiding anymore. Because my name, my work, meant something now. And it was stitched into every label I made.